Hey, how you all doing, Bubblegummies? And welcome to another making of a Bubblegum Monster. Now, you may be wondering what on earth is a Bubblegum Monster, especially if you've just joined us. Well, every Friday we stream live and we create different characters from scratch. So this could be a character from a movie, a game, or even a comic book. In fact, we even do suggestions from you guys. These are then rendered out into a bubblegum form on the computer. But we don't stop there. Using our bubblegum machine, or okay, yeah, it's just a 3D printer, we then take the model and create a real version of it, just like these guys that you see behind me. So for example, Donald Trump, Spider-Man, even My Little Pony. So if you like the sound of this, then please remember to like the video and to subscribe. Also remember to hit the alarm bell so that you get notified every time we upload a video. We hope you enjoyed today's Making a Bubblegum Monster, which is Wreck-It Ralph from the upcoming sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Enjoy. Okay, so I'm starting off with a sphere, which is what I actually always do, usually when I'm modelling, but especially with Disney characters, it's really good to have some sort of rounded shape to start with. And this is Wreck-It Ralph's head. He's got a kind of potato head, I guess, in a way. And cauliflower type ears, like he's been in a boxing match or something. So I've just extruded out his ears, which actually didn't need much work. I pretty much left them as they were, as they got extruded. Whereas a lot of stuff you find you end up having to add a lot more details, but with that it was quite straightforward. Now here I'm using a technique which you can't see, but in Zbrush you can make it half transparent, and then in the background you can actually then have like your character as a reference and see it like tracing paper. So I'm just trying to get the proportions of the body right there. Now excuse this bit, this is just us giving away competition prizes throughout this live stream. And again, if you haven't seen the live stream, we do it every Friday at 5:30 GMT, so check it out if you want to come and have a chat. Here we are now building in the body, and I'm trying to get the proportions right, so I just quickly sketch out the legs by masking out an area, inverting the mask and then pulling out that area. Just trying to sort of build out his belly a little bit more. And now it's his arms, so again just pulling bits and pieces out, trying to get the proportions where I want them. And I think here I just start making the forearms. And it's always good if you watch, I'm always rotating around the model, but it's always good to see it from the top, side, left, right, bottom, every angle you can see, so you're always getting an idea of the proportions. This now is his massive hands, which I think probably the most iconic part of his body really. So I'm trying to get them right and get the proportions right, and I'm just extruding like I did with the legs and arms, just masking off little areas, pulling out bits that need to be pulled out. And here I'm pulling out the thumbs, and then I'm just etching in roughly where like each finger is. Now we're giving away Freddy, I think it is. So here now I've masked off the hand so I can just concentrate on the thumb. And it's really good in Zbrush, you can mask bits out so that when you're moving stuff around it doesn't interfere with bits you don't want to touch. And now I'm sort of smoothing it, no sorry not smoothing out, I'm hardening the edges of the fingers, because with the Wreck-It Ralph character, even though he's quite rounded and he's a 3D sort of high-end 3D character in a Disney movie, the designers, he's obviously based on an 8-bit computer game, so back then characters were really blocky, so I think the design of him was, the designers definitely thought about making his edges quite flat and hard edged. So if you look at his fingers and thumbs and toes, they're all very blocky, like boxes. And so I was just trying to sort of get that across. Zbrush has got some good tools where you can sort of, it's almost like chiseling away at clay or at marble. You can make it look like a really hard edge. Here I'm extruding the feet and the toes. Now the toes I didn't spend much time on, just because it was a live stream. I just wanted to rough something in, because I knew that later on I'd go in and add more details. Now we're giving away our poster from the FNAF movie, which someone won. So now the face, I'd left the face to last just because I knew that it was pretty straightforward to do and it wasn't too important to the overall look of him. So I'm just sort of, again, roughing in areas. And in Zbrush you can use a symmetrical tool, so everything's symmetrical at the moment. But in the actual reference, his face is actually offset, he's like smirking, which I'll come back to later on. And here is a tool called Fiber Mesh in Zbrush where you can kind of make things like bushes and leaves and in this case hair, As it happens, I didn't end up using this because I felt it was a bit too spiky for his hair and it wasn't like the ref, so I actually go with a different technique at a later point. Here I'm just changing the size of his body a little bit because I've sort of, once his hair was there, I realised his head was a little bit too small, so I've made his body smaller to match the size of his head. And here this is a good technique where you can basically mask out areas and then Zbrush will extrude them to make things like clothing and armour, basically anything that matches the contour of the model that you're extruding from. So it's a really useful tool for that sort of stuff, and I'm just showing other techniques with stitching and things like that which you can use. Now this is actually after the live stream because the live stream is about an hour long and I don't want to sort of go on and on because it takes about 3 hours to make these. So this is actually after the live stream where I'm just going in and refining a lot of the parts that I just didn't get time to do in the live stream. So for example here with the feet, making them more blocky like the actual reference, and just a lot more sharper in detail. And now I'm starting to make the dungarees in a more detailed way because before it was just a sort of demonstration of how that tool worked, but I'm actually going in for real now and actually adding the details I want. And here I think I start trying to make the part of the dungaree where it's actually got a broken strap and the part of the dungaree sort of folded over. So I'm using masking techniques to just be able to pull out the part that I want to give it the illusion that it's a flap that sort of like overlapped the main part of the dungaree. Took a little while to sort of make it all look sharp and straighten it up, but I got there in the end with that. And now I was making his lumberjack top here using the same technique as before, whereby Zbrush will extrude the masked area to create a new bit of geometry, and in this case it's going to be his lumberjack top. So I was just making sure all the sleeves and stuff were tidy before I went ahead and did that. And there you go, see, so now he's got his lumberjack top, and here I'm masking out areas to make sort of the stitching and the sort of fabric detail around the collar. Now I wasn't going to go into too much detail here. Zbrush has actually got some really good tools for creating patterns, but because this is going to be 3D printed I didn't want to go into too many extreme details because it would get lost in the 3D print, and these are meant to be made of bubblegum at the end of the day, so there was no point adding all of those details for something that you'd never be able to achieve if you did actually make it out of bubblegum. Here I'm making the strap for the dungarees and the buckle and the belt, and again I didn't go into too much detail. And this is a low resolution model now because I wanted to pose him, and posing is really important when you're making a character. It really sort of sells the weight of the character. For example here I'm bending him over so that his weight's over 1 foot, and then I'm sort of moving the other foot so that he's sort of like tiptoeing on the other foot to keep balance, and then also just changing one arm so it's not symmetrical to the other side gives it a really sort of nice interesting pose rather than this sort of standard mirrored pose which is really boring. And also arching the body. If you look at all Disney characters, they always have a really nice arc to their body because Disney animators will really concentrate on what's called arcs, which is something actually we're going to cover in tips and tricks in our tips and tricks animation 12 principles, but arcs are really important. So here I'm now adding the finer details, just emphasising the sort of edges of the lumberjack top and the t-shirt, and just making it a lot clearer where the lines of his arms begin from his t-shirt and the buckle and the buttons. And then I'm adding the details into his face where his mouth wasn't symmetrical, so I'm just sort of making it offset and just refining the details a little bit more because I had a bit more polygons to play with here, so I could actually start adding in things like his eyebrows and then his eyeballs. But again, I didn't want to go into too much detail because it's going to be 3D printed, so it's all more of a suggestion of where his pupils and things are. And this is now a platform I'm making to put him on because he's going to be 3D printed, and it's good to have a nice base so he can stand up nice and steady. And there he is, the finished Wreck-It Ralph. And actually also I then 3D rendering to make him look like he's made of bubblegum. This is in a package called Maya. And that's it. So there you go, one bubblegummed Wreck-It Ralph. I hope you enjoyed the video and there was a lot of tips and tricks you could use within it. And if you are going to create your own sculpture, remember to use a free piece of software called Sculptris from Pixologics, which you can download off the site. And remember, if you want to show your piece of work to the world, send it to us via bubblegummonster@gmail.com with gallery in the title. So that's it for now. Remember to give it a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and keep an eye out for our Thursday video where Stuart will be printing Wreck-It Ralph. Until then, bye for now.